I have a review. Now, you guys know I love to give myself a challenge, and I always pick a name that I can't pronounce. So here we go. This review is written by La Cochinelle. I'm going to have to spell it. LA space COCCINELLE. What do you think that is, Trey?
Oh, that's I instantly get lost if there's two consonants next to each other. So
I know with the CC, I'm like, is it La
Yeah.
Cochinella, La Cochin? I don't know.
but there's
We're
no
gonna-
accent marks.
There's no, I don't know if the accent mark. So this review is from Goodreads, I should say. I don't know if Goodreads allows for an accent or not, but there is no accent. What are we got to agree on something because we're going to be talking about them a lot.
La Cochinella.
All right, so we'll call them La Cochinella. So La Cochinella has written, wow, I bit my tongue.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay, you guys, I'm sorry. La Cochinella has written a 2-star review on Goodreads for the book Daddy Christmas and Hanukkah Mama. Now, I feel like our audience has a totally different relationship with the title of this book. And I'll be honest, when I first read it, I was like, Daddy Christmas and Hanukkah Mama. Like, what is this, a porno? Like, I don't know.
Oh, wait, I think now I'm going to like where this is going now that I think about it.
Why?
Well, at first you said Daddy Christmas, and I thought it would be Hanukkah Harry.
Yeah.
But now is this for
Hanukkah
children
Mama
that have two separate religious parents? Oh, very nice.
That
okay.
is what it is. That exact. But like, am I weird that when I first read that, I was like, Hanukkah Daddy? I mean, I don't know.
It occurred to me too, obviously. For some reason,
Okay.
you can't say daddy without it being like
Yeah, I mean,
head tilt.
Yeah, exactly. So, all
Okay.
right. Let's hear La Cano. Let's hear La Cochinella's opinion. This book makes one huge assumption that children will be familiar with both Christmas and Hanukkah celebrations.
Oh, no.
There's little explanation for why people do the things they do to celebrate these holidays. Mentions are made of leaving latkes out for Santa and putting gelt under the Christmas tree. But the significance of these things isn't explained. Children who might not be familiar with Christmas will be doubly confused, as the book makes mention of both the religious story, Jesus's birth, and the more secular one, Santa Claus. Having read a couple of other picture books about Hanukkah now, I feel like I have a basic grasp of what's going on. And this book doesn't really even cover the basics. I'm also still confused about the king and queen. Who are the king and queen? Is that a Jewish thing or a Christian one? I've never heard of it. The book may be short, but there are places that more explanation could have been added. Instead, we get 4 pages about holiday cleanup. I'm not exaggerating, unfortunately. I didn't really like the pictures here. Some of them are okay. And I like the use of what looks like collage in addition to the drawings. However, the characters in profile are creepy. Something about the eyes. I've been waiting for this book from the library for so long that Hanukkah is over. And that leads me to yet another problem with this book. The story, as it's written, is only going to make sense in years where Hanukkah and Christmas overlap. The differing dates could cause confusion for kids. And I'd like to know how a family like this would celebrate their holidays in a year like 2018. Would Hanukkah and Christmas be more self-contained? Would they bother stuffing the turkey with kugel and leaving latkes out for Santa, or just keep the traditions separate. Overall, I was disappointed. This book is going to have very limited appeal and may only work for children who find themselves in the same situation as Sadie. Otherwise, it doesn't really add anything to the discussion. You could achieve the same thing by explaining with one simple sentence. Some people combine Hanukkah and Christmas traditions. If you're going to expand on that sentence in a book, the story needs to do more than just find different ways of repeating that sentence without offering any more information about the traditions themselves.
Oh my God. My throat hurts. Okay, wait. I am very confused.
Yeah.
Because I assumed from the top, the attack about what are the reasons? What is the significance? Why is this tradition, which is very culturally Jewish,
right,
to understand traditional lineage?
Sure.
But then later in the review, La Cochinella says they've read a couple of picture books, so now they're an expert on Judaism.
Yes.
So also,
oh God,
is La Cochinella in this situation themselves? Like, are they in a mixed religious home or not? Like, I'm very confused.
Right. I think that La Cochinella is not, which like is my impression, because they're like, this book only makes sense if you're in this exact situation. So were they feeling bad that it didn't make as much sense to them?
Well, if La Cochinella is just simply curious and not finding themselves in the shoes of Sadie, which just hilarious that the main character's name is Sadie.
Yes.
Sadie, married lady. But I commend wanting to expand one's mind and experience in life, but I am not sure if that is the case, because they mentioned that it took so long to get it from the library that it's now past Hanukkah.
Right. But they still read it.
Which then like that sort of comes into conversations of privilege. And because I'm like, if you're waiting that long, can you find another library? Can you just get the book on Amazon or, whatever, or, go to Books A Million in the mall and just read it in the store.
Right.
But
and also, like, of course, if the book is out right before Hanukkah, you're not getting that book back until after Hanukkah, because the person that lent it is going to want it for the duration of Hanukkah.
It's just very interesting to me. This is such an interesting review because it is a book. Does a book become insignificant if it's only for a very niche group of people? Because that is an argument that La Cochinella is making. Right.
Yeah, I came across that same thought when I read that portion of it, because I thought, well, isn't that the point of books?
Like genres. That's why we have multiple genres in bookstores.
Right. Like, this book exists because there are families that have parents of different faiths, one parent being Jewish, one parent being Christian. It happens all the time. So you would think if you were in that situation, you would be looking for a book like that. And if I were, let's say, an author who maybe grew up in that kind of situation or something like that, maybe I would feel compelled to write a book so that there would be other kids like me who could feel like they were being seen in this moment. So what's the problem with having it be the story tailored to a specific family?
Well, exactly. I mean, you need some narrative centerpiece.
Right.
But I'm curious because I hear La Cochinella's point that if I wanted to raise children in my interfaith home, I would think that I would want a book to, if I was choosing this book, I would have an expectation that it would really nurture and educate.
Yes.
And give a lot of background. You would hope that. I mean, I'm imagining, is this a children's book?
Yes, this is a children's book, which is also why I was confused. I mean, again, no offense, not trying to pass judgment, but like, La Cochinella is writing this review as if they are just trying to, they never mentioned having a kid. Like, are they reading this to a child, or are they reading this for their own pleasure, do we think? And they've read a lot of children's books.
I really cannot deduce. I can't decipher the reason that La Coccinella is reading this. For a while in the review, I thought it was because they were secretly an illustrator.
Because they
have so many opinions about drawings.
Maybe.
I mean,
they're a little shady.
Okay. I'm sort of two minds here.
Okay.
But what is La Coccinella's spelling and grammar like, aside from how they spell their name?
OCD excellent.
Interesting. Okay.
All
right. Well,
really, this person seems like a writer. The way that they use ellipses. They have moments where they use bold lettering and parentheses. It's just it's very pretty. Just looking at it and not reading it, you hang it on the fridge. Just looks. Even italicized words, very sexy.
I love that about Goodreads.
Yes.
You can really do Microsoft Word formatting.
Yeah. It's really well formatted.
So I'm just curious about the timeline of the month of December, because the examples that La Coccinella uses to sort of point out that this can't work every year, this is a leap year type of book.
Right.
You could stuff a turkey with Kugel. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, also, I thought the same thing.
You can leave latkes out for Santa, even if Hanukkah was 2 weeks ago. It doesn't. I don't know. We
completely agree.
We didn't get examples of the 8 nights of Hanukkah needing if there's a specific thing you incorporate into Hanukkah,
right?
Dealing with Christmas, if they aren't on the same, then maybe. But then I also don't think if you're interfaith and you want this entire month to encapsulate both holidays, then you're gonna have to do a little bit of scheduling,
creativity. Yeah. Because everybody is going to be, no matter what, the point is that everybody celebrates Christmas on December 25th.
Right.
And if you're a Jewish kid, you're not included in that. So this is a way of bridging the gap between the two. And I think it's really cool. I love the idea of stuffing the turkey with kugel. I mean, people do birthday months. It's the holiday month, it's all month long.
I mean, I do think that. Oh wait, I do want to. I just have to mention.
Yeah.
Who are the king and queen?
I knew you were going to mention that.
Isn't that Herod and Esther or something? Or
I would think so, but that's but that's not Hanukkah. That's Purim.
But isn't Hanukkah? No, that's Passover, when they were kicked out. That's Passover, because they didn't have time for. So Hanukkah is the 8 nights, because they didn't have.
It was because the oil for the candle.
But isn't that because of persecution?
Yes, I mean there was a whole story where they were trying to.
Isn't the king of Egypt?
I don't know.
They're slaves in Egypt.
That's
next year
Passover.
In Jerusalem. That's Passover.
That's Passover. But this was that I think they were remaking the temple or something, because the temple had previously been destroyed for idol worship or whatever. And they were sort of, that was the whole Maccabees, then they won. They got the land. This is what I remember.
But see, but all of
they
this
got the land back, and then they built up the temple, and they needed to get supply. They needed the light to continue working.
Right, but
and the oil was supposed to only last for 1 day. Yes.
Maybe La Coccinella doesn't celebrate either holiday, because the Torah in Christian speak is the Old Testament. So I don't understand La Coccinella's confusion. I mean, we don't know who the king and queen is. I mean, it seems that way in this conversation, but that's not some is that a Jewish thing? No, it was.
I don't know, or is it a Christian thing? Maybe it is a Christian thing. Is there a king is Christ the king? I don't know, guys.
Well, I think Christ is a metaphysical king.
That's what I mean. Maybe there's a storyline with that. I'm not sure. But the point is, the message that I'm getting is the teachings within the book about the holiday and about the history, or just anything that would be specific about teaching a child about the history of Christmas and about the history of Hanukkah was lacking, that there was not enough of that.
And this is a true story because I grew up in an area that didn't have a lot of Jewish people. The first time I ever even heard the word Hanukkah was the Rugrats special, which was completely tailored to children. The Rugrats was like an animated TV show. And it told the whole story. So there is real power in child storytelling. So I do really get La Cochinella's point that they didn't take the opportunity to truly teach.
Right.
Which makes me question what is the age group for this book, because sometimes if they're too young, then maybe it's too much.
There's only like a certain amount of information you want to
pad it with.
And also this seems like it's a book about traditions and less about the history of what the holidays represent, right?
So then do you think that La Cochinella is like, do you think this is a truthful review? Like, or do we think they're being shady? Like, I
think it's truthful to La Cochinella's truth. I want to say for whatever reason, which is one of the places where I feel like La Cochinella fails, is letting us know the context in which she's reading this book. So that makes it a little bit confusing to me, but I do think they were very disappointed. They had a lot of expectations. They were waiting for this book from the library. They really, for whatever reason, wanted this book to be incredible, and they were disappointed.
So like, okay, if we were choosing to check this out from the library and we came across this review, does this leave you with an impression that this will be your experience, or do you think this was a fluke experience? Because to me, like you said, it's this issue of context, which I don't get, because it might be interesting to read this little book about a character named Sadie, and this is what their family does to celebrate both holidays. That doesn't have to like have anything to do with educating me or how to incorporate. Like, it could just be a story.
I completely agree. I don't think that reading this review would stop me from buying the book, truthfully.
See, and I'm not sure because...
Really?
Well, I really am just... I think the main point I'm getting from this review is that there's a lack of knowledge in the book. There's a lack of...
But if you were buying the book because you were, like, for example, you and David, you know, I know you don't have kids, but let's say you.
But I could buy this for my nephew who
perfect. Yeah, for your nephew. So like, if you were going to buy this for your nephew,
I would probably still buy it because it's at least a book that incorporates both realities. And so much of storytelling is very like exclusive.
Yes.
Exclusionary. So I appreciate the openness, and then maybe I would still buy it hoping that something better will come along in the future that
or that maybe my expectations for this book are more about how can we combine the cultures. And I think it's a great idea to put kugel in Turkey. So if I was going to read this to my baby and this was how we were going to talk about integrating these two worlds, then maybe they would be really excited to put the kugel in the turkey. And like we could integrate some of these traditions, like putting the latkes out for Santa Claus, into our life in a way that kids love that kind of stuff. Like, oh, I read it in a book and now I'm going to do it in real life. Correct. You know? So I actually think that some of the things that La Cochinella pointed out as negatives, I thought were kind of cool.
So I didn't find this humorous on purpose. I sort of, I was just laughing. It just was very funny to me. Probably the funniest part was I've read a couple of picture books, so I think I understand.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just anecdotally funny because it's just so funny to think that somebody would take a book that's written for like 3-year-olds this seriously enough to write as lengthy a review as what's her name wrote about God, what was it?
The Giving Tree?
I guess we did have The Giving Tree, but I was thinking of 50 Shades of Grey.
Shanice.
I love Shanice. But like, you know, like this was worthy of a dissertation. This like children's book.
Yes.
That is probably just the kind of gift that you buy for an interfaith family for Hanukkah with like some cookies and latkes in it,
I think we've inadvertently
Yeah.
suggested another Shark Tank item.
A basket with this book and
no, someone needs to create a more background traditional educational story for Sadie's family.
Oh, yes.
All right. I think
we've beaten this. Like we've gotten everything out of this we could get out of this in this assessment, I think. Okay. What do you think?
Yeah, I can crown it.
Okay.
All right. So Chelsey and I each have our own set of 1 to 5 crown cards, and in an effort to be fair and not influenced by one another, we will simultaneously reveal our rating.
The queens are tabulating.
You ready?
Yeah. I need a second.
I didn't mean to press the button.
Okay. I'm ready. Yes, I'm ready.
Let me ask you again, just for editing.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Total score.
All right.
Oh, unanimous. We're both holding up 2.5 crowns. Okay, Trey, tell us why did you give La Cochinella 2.5 crowns?
Okay, this is something that's never occurred for me before, but I'm wondering if it's fair to review something if you didn't buy it, you just rented it from the library. I think it is fair if you've read it.
Yeah,
you don't have to own
in this context. Yes,
but that just occurred to me. I gave it 2.5 because I think the impact is a little less than middle of the road for me. I just think I'm missing some key ingredients to connect me to La Cochinella, because I want to know if I'm in a similar place, because if I'm not, then maybe it doesn't really matter that much. I think this book can have value without it needing to be the educational tool for someone from zero, which I think maybe La Cochinella didn't want it to be zero, or wanted it to be zero.
Right. So it was a 2-star.
Was a 2-star. That's a really great point. I just 2.5 because ultimately I still would consider buying it. And like you said, some of the negative points actually seem positive to me. So for that reason, 2.5. Now you, Chelsey Donn, why did you also do 2.5?
I did 2.5 because, again, middle of the road. I felt like there were a lot of spoilers in there that were sort of interesting to me. I think the person that's going to be reading this is probably going to be a parent. So maybe it will have the positive effect that it had on me, where I was like, oh, this is interesting with the tradition. So I feel like there was a lot of information given, and the use of grammar and all of the ways that the review is formatted was really great. So that was where the points came from. And then ultimately, took away those 2.5 crowns because I don't think I really care. And it's not going to keep me from buying the book. So that's that. Well, we definitely, I think we did La Cochinella justice.
I think so too. All right.
I love
Good
that.
job.
Okay.
Funny, very funny review. Oh my God.
Thank you.
Baby, it's time.